Today, we are exploring a truly unexpected intersection. We're looking at the exact point where abstract computer programming directly collides with human anatomy. Now, I know what you're thinking. Code and biology seem like two completely distinct worlds, right? But as you'll see in this explainer, they are deeply connected in ways that are quite literally and actively saving lives. To really wrap our heads around this connection, we have to start with a surprisingly tough question. Why is teaching a computer to see an oval so incredibly difficult? Seriously, for a computer, finding straight lines or perfect circles in an image, pretty straightforward. But an ellipse? That's a completely different story. Finding ellipses requires a massive amount of computational power and memory. But, and here's a quick hint for you, solving this specific abstract geometry problem isn't just for computer scientists. This exact math is actively playing a role in crucial medical procedures. So, let's look at why this math is so ridiculously hard in the first place. Okay, let's dive into this. When programmers use tools like Matlab to try and find an ellipse in a digital image, they hit a massive computational wall. Why? Well, because an ellipse has more variables than a circle. You've got major axes, minor axes, rotation. It's complex. So, an algorithm has to perform this exhaustive brute force search. It has to examine an enormous matrix of candidate shapes just to find a single match. And the processing cost scales with the square of the number of pixels in the image. It is an incredibly intense operation. And the crazy thing is, you can't just feed a raw normal picture into the algorithm. Oh no, you have to run it through this heavy multi-step image processing pipeline first. You start by masking and segmenting the background, then you're splitting the image into red, green, and blue components to isolate what you want. Next, converting it all to grayscale. Only then can you finally calculate the edges of the shapes and filter the results. It's a rigorous, fast-paced gauntlet you have to run just to prep one simple digital image for detection. It's like one Matlab expert noted while working on this exact issue. Since ellipses are described by more parameters, detecting ellipses is an expensive memory hog. It takes a tremendous toll on a computer's memory. But remember that little breadcrumb I dropped earlier about medicine? Well, here is where our story makes a dramatic pivot. We're stepping out of the abstract world of computer vision and walking straight into the physical world of human anatomy. So here is the major twist. Look at the human cranium. If you look at it from the side, the upper portion of a human head is essentially an ellipse. It's brilliant. Researchers at the University of York realized that we can take this exact memory-heavy ellipse-finding algorithm and use it to precisely map the shape of human heads. To understand how, we need to know what doctors look for. In the medical field, clinicians rely heavily on something called the sagittal profile. Simply put, this is the side view 2D outline of the head that gets extracted from a 3D scan. It is absolutely crucial because it's often the most revealing dimension doctors use to spot structural deviations from healthy population norms. When evaluating the health of a skull, getting this exact curve mapped perfectly, it's everything. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. You can see the alignment so clearly here. The geometric ellipse, that's the cyan shape, perfectly overlays onto the blue outline of the human head. The algorithm searches for that mathematical shape and just locks right onto the kerm of the skull. It finds the exact center, the red major axis, and the green minor axis. By isolating this geometry, computers can literally see the shape of a human head with incredible mathematical precision. But to turn this from a cool coding trick into a usable medical tool, the researchers at York built a fully automatic 3-step pipeline to create a 2D morphable model. Step 1, profile extraction, where they pull that 2D profile from a 3D scan using facial landmarks. Step 2, dense correspondence. This ensures every profile has the exact same number of data points, so apples are being compared to apples. And Step 3, similarity alignment, which scales and aligns up the profiles so they can actually be analyzed statistically. Now, what's truly fascinating is how they handled that final alignment step. Traditionally, scientists use something called GPA, or Generalized Procrustes Analysis. GPA uses the entire head to align the scans. But the York researchers, they came up with a breakthrough alternative called the ECN, or Ellipse Center Nasen method. Instead of looking at the whole head, ECN anchors the alignment strictly to the center of our calculated cranial ellipse, and the nasen, which is just the bridge of the nose. You might be wondering, why is this ECN method such a game changer? Well, it's because of what we can call the Pinocchio effect.
Think about it. If you use the entire head for alignment, variable facial features, like a really prominent nose or an extended chin, they act like a heavy anchor dragging a ship completely off course. They physically shift the data and totally skew the measurements of the actual cranium. By using ECN, doctors can isolate just the cranium and completely ignore the noisy data of facial variations. Just look at the results. When the ECN method is applied, it perfectly stacks and aligns these 100 training profiles. Notice how incredibly neat that is? The major red axes and minor green axes are perfectly clustered together inside those cyan ellipses. ECN successfully normalizes these highly diverse head shapes into a clear, unified data set. This mathematical model is now completely primed for a real-world application. Which brings us to the very real, very human application of this technology. We are looking at a severe medical condition called craniosynostosis. During an infant's development, the sutures in their skull can sometimes fuse prematurely. This stops normal growth. It leads to an abnormally shaped head, but far more dangerously, it can cause damaging intracranial pressure on a baby's growing brain. To relieve this pressure, a case study followed 25 infants who had to undergo highly complex, corrective cranial surgeries. Now, to treat this, doctors rely on two main surgical interventions: barrel staving and total calvarial remodeling. Both of these require the surgeons to physically reshape the bone of the skull. The ultimate goal is to remodel the infant's head toward a healthy norm. But here's the massive challenge. How do surgeons objectively prove that these incredibly delicate surgeries achieved the correct geometric shape once the operation is over? They desperately need this exact ellipse-based morphable model to track if the surgeries actually worked.
So the crucial point is right here in this data. It's amazing to see. The black dots, that represents the healthy adult training set. Now look at the red crosses. Those represent the infant skull shapes before the surgery. Notice how far away they are from the healthy black dots. But the blue crosses represent those exact same patients post-operation. You can visually see how the surgeries successfully moved the patient's cranial profiles across the graph, pulling them significantly closer to that healthy, normal cluster. This data is literally telling a physical story of healing. The model showed that the most dominant shift for these infants happened in what researchers labeled parameter 2. In physical terms, that means the surgery successfully pushed the skull's volume backwards. It moved the cranial height from the front of the profile back to the rear, exactly where it belongs. This is the physical shift that relieves that dangerous intracranial pressure and safely remodels the infant's skull.
And to put a hard, concrete number on this success, before the barrel staving procedure, the statistical measure of how far these patients were from a healthy norm, called the Mahalanobis distance, was a highly abnormal 4.670. After the surgery, guided and measured by this geometric model, that number plummeted to 2.302. The mathematical gap between illness and health was literally cut in half. It's just an absolutely incredible bridge between two completely different disciplines, isn't it? A complex, memory-hogging computer algorithm designed just to find an abstract shape became the exact tool doctors needed to track life-saving surgeries for infants. It really makes you wonder, what other hidden geometric shapes in the human body could unlock the next big medical breakthrough? Keep seeking those hidden connections, and we'll catch you next time.